Well, it's John Alwyn-Jones here reporting for Travel Mole TV in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia. And what better location to be in? Here we are in the coal port of Newcastle, and we're just passing the Crown Plaza Hotel here. We've just come out of the port in this stunning setting, and this is a location that's revitalised itself. It's moved from being an industrial location into a really prime tourism destination, and it will increase being so over the years to come. We're on board the boat, the Moonshine, going around the harbour here on a sort of VIP media cruise, and we're going to go downstairs now into the main cabin and have a chat with some of the movers and shakers and sponsors of the ATEC Symposium in Newcastle. So come with me, let's go downstairs, have a great Blue Tongue beer or a Shiraz from the Hunter Valley and relax and enjoy the ATEC Symposium. Well, you know, Travel Mole TV always likes a bit of a social occasion, so we're on board a sort of boat in Newcastle Harbour, and as you know, Travel Mole TV is reporting from the ATEC Symposium in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia. And I'm here with two gentlemen from Qantas. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. So we have
Gurney from Qantas
and Pogmore from Qantas.
Now, these guys are really significant in terms of inbound tourism in Qantas. Rob is very senior, and Simon has responsibility for the tourism aspects of the business. So tell us a bit about the importance of inbound tourism to Qantas, because a lot of people think, I suppose, you know, Qantas is about Australians flying on holiday, but the planes have got to come back, haven't they? So
yeah, look, I think one thing that's well, firstly, it's hugely important to us, John, and that's one of the reasons we're here. It's one of the reasons we're a major supporter of Australian tourism. I mean, it's absolutely at the heart of our growth strategy. You know, we've got a $35 billion investment program over the next decade and a half, and tourism sits right at the heart of the strategy. So we've got a huge aircraft order book. As you know, we operate two brands, two flying brands now, Qantas and Jetstar. Jetstar, in particular, open up new tourism markets for Australia. So it's hugely important. I guess the other important thing to remember with Qantas is that pretty much everything we do outside of Australia is focused on selling and marketing this destination.
Yeah. I think people forget that as well, because I know that in the UK, for example, right, Qantas and Australia sort of like, they're hand in glove, aren't they, in a sense, because you're part of the imagery. And when you see the kangaroo at Heathrow on a Qantas aircraft, it's part of this, and we forget, I think, for example, when I'm going over the Harbour Bridge, we forget there are people in Birmingham who give their left leg to see the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House once in their lives. Yeah. And Qantas is innate in that, isn't it?
Absolutely. In fact, it's a great question, because tomorrow you'll see us showcase the new marketing campaign offshore, just launched last week. Yeah. Which I won't say too much about it now. There's a small surprise tomorrow, but one of the things it does do is showcase some of the iconic images around Australia. And you're absolutely right about Qantas. Yeah. Our brand is synonymous with two things: offshore, in particular Australia, and of course safety. But we go hand in glove with Australia. So anything that Qantas does in a marketing sense offshore has direct benefits to Australian tourism.
Fantastic. Now, Simon, your responsibility is to sort of work with the tourism industry in Australia, is it, and position product? Yeah. But tell me a bit about your job. That would probably help.
I guess the role, the key focus of the role is making sure that we're partnering and we're investing and we're communicating with all the key stakeholders from an inbound tourism perspective. I guess the cornerstone of that is going to be our Tourism Australia marketing partnership, which is sort of a $60 million partnership over 3 years. But then, very importantly, working with the state bodies, key bodies such as ATEC, and that's why we're here and sponsoring this great event, to ensure that we're talking to the operators and understanding sort of what their challenges are, and really communicating and getting a feel, because it's a collective effort. I mean, Qantas are a key component of that, being the national airline, but there's a lot of other operators working very hard to try and drive that inbound piece. So I guess my role is sort of the conduit between the two, if you like.
Sure. What are the challenges? I mean, we hear a lot in the media about fuel prices and the dollar and all this stuff, right? What are the big challenges for you guys now moving forward in terms of, let's face it, at the end of the day, the national carrier, really? So, what are you facing?
I think, fuel clearly is, and coupled with the economic downturn in the US, which is likely to have some residual impacts around the rest of the world. They're the two key challenges facing aviation. They'll have a direct impact on tourism in terms of it's a challenge that tourism has to deal with as well. So they clearly are major challenges, but the way we like to think about it is that they're the challenges. What about the good things that we're doing?
Absolutely.
And there are so many great things that we are doing. There's so many great things that this destination has to offer. Like anything, we're going to be susceptible, I say we, the tourism industry, is going to be susceptible to the economic cycle. But the key for us is to make sure we come out the other end stronger and better.
And Simon, you're working with the industry. I mean, what sort of feedback are you getting from the industry at the moment about, current business and future business? Is it positive? I mean, are people thinking, it's all going to be okay, we're going to ride this bit of a blip in the road?
Yeah. I mean, certainly it's positive, but not without its challenges. I think people recognise there.
It's important you both use the word challenge, not a problem, which is cool. Good. Yeah.
Nothing's a problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there are certain key markets. Japan, there's been a little bit of softening sort of in the UK and such like. So there's certainly plenty of work to do, but we've got a great product.
Yeah.
People are certainly very interested in coming to Australia. So we just got to keep making sure that is top of mind for everyone.
Well, I know there's some great Australian wines here this evening, so it'd be very unfair of me to hold you any longer. But look forward to seeing the presentations tomorrow, and have a great evening and a great ATEC. And thank you to Qantas for the contribution you make to the success of an event like this. Thank you.
Thanks to you, John, and thanks to Travel World TV.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, it's amazing that, here we are on a boat in, I was going to say Sydney Harbour for a moment, but in Newcastle Harbour, and you bump into amazing people, and I was wondering along here, who do I find but John Mangos here? Now, but I knew he was here for a bit of a role, and I was looking at his website today, and I think it said you've got 30 years of experience in broadcasting. Is that right?
I've been working in television for 30 years.
I
look it too, don't I?
The makeup, look at that. Plastic surgery does work, okay? But seriously, you're the man at the helm tomorrow. You've got to MC all the conference sessions tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you're going to bring tremendous broadcast experience, but what about tourism? What's your love in tourism?
Look, in 30 years of journalism, I've had a lot of experience in tourism, having travelled the country, having travelled to other countries as a guest of their tourist organisations. And the thing I love about the tourism industry is that it's full of people whose job it is to make other people happy, to make other people have a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's why they're nice people to be around, because their whole raison d'etre is to make sure you enjoy Newcastle Harbour, the Hunter Valley, wherever you are. Well, who wouldn't want to be around people like that?
Absolutely, yeah. But what sort of places, what do you like doing in Australia? You go on your travels around the world, what do you say to people about Australia?
Look, I love being in Australia, and I love Australia, and I love people coming to Australia, and I've had the advantage of having lived in Europe and lived in the United States. And I'm a great salesperson for Australia, because I go, you reckon your beaches are good? Wait till you see ours. You reckon your food is good? Wait till you taste ours. You reckon your wine's good? Wait till you taste ours. Those sorts of things, because we are a very underrated country.
Absolutely, I agree.
Everyone's got a nice feeling about Australia, but they don't really understand the quality that goes on in this place. And the other thing that you can say now safely to Europeans, Asians and Americans, that traffic that you sit in for 2 hours to get from A to B, doesn't happen in Australia.
Absolutely. So coming to the conference tomorrow, okay, you've looked at the programme and so on. What parts of the conference do you think will it really interest you as the MC?
Look, we've got some really interesting speakers, and they're going to speak on a diverse variety of subjects. I think for me, I'm interested to hear the guys talking about the future of tourism in Australia, because when you look at the advancement in technology, you look at aircraft technology, you look at the sort of numbers that we're going to be able to bring in and take out, tourism's going to change a lot in the very short future. Like we've got the big 380s about to come into Australia now. And how the new technology is going to affect the future of tourism interests me a lot, especially with the new technology, with communication technology and travel technology. It's going to make a huge difference. The world, literally, is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's getting easier and easier and easier to come to this place.
Well, John, look, thanks for your time this evening. I would hate to keep you away from a Blue Tongue beer or a nice Hunter Valley Shiraz or something, but thanks for your time, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, as I said to you earlier on, we're on the moon shadow on Newcastle Harbour. I nearly made that Freudian slip again about Sydney Harbour, but this is another amazing harbour, and we've been watching the views. We've been passing Newcastle. It's been amazing. Now, the significance of the ATEC convention, or the symposium as they call it, in Newcastle here, is exemplified by the fact I've just bumped into Matt Brown. Now, Matt is the Minister for Tourism for New South Wales, amongst other things, but we'll stick with tourism for now. So tell us a bit about, what you expect to get out of the ATEC symposium. You're here tomorrow to talk, and I know you're passionate about tourism, so it's all about inbound, so go.
It's all about inbound, and what we're seeing is we're going to be getting more international tourists by 2015 than domestic tourists in the state.
Oh, wow.
So it's a very important symposium for all of these inbound operators to get together and look at how we can deliver excellent product for our international visitors.
So take me through that again. So more inbound visitors than domestic tourism. That's incredible.
By the year 2015. And
that's not far.
it's just around the corner. We're having airlines like Etihad bringing a lot more European visitors via the hub in the Middle East, now to Sydney. We have V Australia setting up operations going over to the US. And of course Qantas is continually promoting Australia's interest right across the world. So it's very exciting. More people are wanting to come to this country, and when they come here, they want to come to Sydney and experience the regions like Newcastle. Just look at it.
Yeah, it's stunning. And we've been here for a couple of days already with the Backpacker Conference yesterday, which I was amazed at some of the stats that came out of the Backpacker Conference and the volume of people that visit Australia. But just talking about New South Wales and tourism and so on, how long have you been Minister now?
Just a bit over a year now.
Okay, but you've become sort of a passionate, it's a bit like sort of becoming a convert, isn't it, to a religion or something. I've never heard somebody speak so passionately about tourism as you do. So what are the things that impress you most about tourism in New South Wales, Australia? And you've been overseas selling tourism, so what are the things that strike you?
Look, it's a couple of things. Number one, we've just got a great product. We have top hotels, we've got fantastic sites, great wine, great food. So I know that any visitor that comes to Australia, Sydney, especially New South Wales, is going to have a great time. We've got great people here, and our people are warm and friendly, and they love visitors. They love to meet them, talk to them, and chat to them. And it's so important for our economy. You know, we really do live a long way away from the rest of the world, but when people come over here from other parts of the world, they love staying here and they want to come back, and it's just great having them.
But how are you going to convince your colleagues in government, okay? And I don't think anybody thinks that government has to be the panacea, you know, in terms of just throwing money at tourism. But how do you convince your colleagues about A, the value of tourism, and B, investing so that the private sector can take it over ultimately and run with it? But there's got to be some core financing there, and, you know, major events and so on. I heard today that Tony Cochrane, for example, has been appointed again for his second term, another 2 years as chairman of Viet Supercars. One of his visions is to have a street race in Sydney. So how do you convince your colleagues about all this?
Well, running government, you know, there's lots of pressures on the public purse. Health, education, roads, transport, you name it. But tourism delivers so much for the economy.
And across all those as well.
And of course, tourists come over here, they need to have transport and better roads and all the rest of it. So yeah, no, we keep pushing the barrow there. Our Premier in New South Wales has just set up the Events Corporation. $85 million going to that, getting a calendar of events, and the V8 Supercars could well be one of them. But we're looking at lots of events. Just this year, World Youth Day, we've got the World Masters Games coming here. People do like having events in Sydney. We now have a corporation set up specifically to encourage them to come and to support them once they're here.
Excellent. Well, Matt, are you going to meet the Pope, by the way, when he's here? Because, I mean, it might give you a place up, you know, by the gates. You might be let in. I mean, I won't be, but...
I can't. I don't know, John, you're telling your viewers too much here. But the Pope's going to have a spectacular entrance. You know, we're not going to have a Pope mobile. We're going to have a Pope boat.
Oh,
and the Pope is actually going to be arriving into Sydney via the harbour on a special Pope boat. So we're going to have a great chance to show off one of the jewels in the crowns, and that's our harbour.
Brilliant. And do you think you'll persuade him to maybe have a glass of good Hunter Valley Shiraz or a Blue Tongue beer or something?
Well, the bishops and cardinals I've met in the past don't need any persuasion to drink good quality Australian wine.
Fantastic.
In fact, hardly anyone does. The good thing about World Youth Day is not only are we having all these people coming into Sydney, but the diocese are encouraging them to get out into the regions, and my agency is working with them for that. So we're getting thousands up into the Hunter Valley, 4,800 actually where we are today.
Oh, you're kidding me. Wow.
Coming very shortly. We've got 5,000 going down to Goulburn and Canberra, and hundreds and going out into different areas of the state. So it's going to be good, not just for the city, but for the regions as well, because they offer a really good tourist product too.
Well, Matt, thank you for your time this evening. I've got this funny feeling that a glass of Shiraz is calling somewhere, or a
we are in the Hunter Valley.
We are, and I'm getting a bit thirsty now, so I think we're going to sign off now. So Matt Brown, thank you very much indeed. John Alwyn-Jones reporting for Travel Mole TV from the ATEC Symposium in Newcastle.
See you shortly.
New South Wales, Australia. It's like a double act, guys. Well, wandering around the Moon Shadow in Newcastle Harbour, which is a great location we talked about earlier on, just bumped into John King, who's the man behind the throne, if you like, of the ATEC Symposium, and Martin Ferguson, the man behind the throne of federal tourism, I suppose. So both very important people here. So John, you know, you're on the night before the sort of big conference. What are your key issues for tomorrow? What are you going to be thinking about?
Well, I think you know, there's a range of issues. You know, there's some major challenges ahead. But I think one of the things that we're trying to do tomorrow is really identify them and take the positive way forward. You know, there are very major changes in distribution which we'll be discussing. There are impacts on various markets. We'll be discussing them in different discussions to find the way forward in those markets where the challenges exist.
Excellent, cool. And Martin, fairly new Minister for Tourism, and baptism of fire perhaps a little bit?
Oh, of course, every conference is a baptism of fire, but I think the great thing about this conference is it's actually in a key regional centre in Australia. And too many people forget about the importance of tourism to regional centres of Australia. Newcastle is important, just as all you go around Australia. These jobs are so important that flow from tourism in regional communities. When we understand, as John has said, we've got a lot of challenges, and our real challenge is to work out what the problems are and then try and find the solutions, and then jointly work with industry and government and state and territory governments to actually solve those problems. Because tourism is a great experience, Australia's a great place to have a holiday, and we're going to make sure that people come here and continue to come here.
In terms of government, in the federal government, how do you persuade your colleagues, though, in federal government that, you know, here's the largest employer or one of the largest employers in Australia, a massive earner of foreign exchange, inbound tourism, you know, albeit that everybody criticised the Where the Bloody Hell Are You campaign, but, you know, inbound tourism is growing. How do you convince your colleagues about the vitality of this thing? And I suppose, you know, that it is about employment. It makes the post office work, it makes the buses work.
I think you hit the nail on the head. A Rudd Labor government is concerned about jobs. We sell coal and iron ore and uranium and LNG, and we get a lot of export earnings. But once you get post-construction, in terms of the resources sector, the number of jobs in production are actually quite small. Alternatively, tourism employs about 470,000 Australians directly, a lot of them in regional communities, and over 900,000 Australians directly and indirectly. So you just think about that. I just have to say to my colleagues, remember this, we don't only earn export dollars, we also create a lot of jobs in Australia. And I'm pleased to say that Australia as a nation still defines itself by a desire for all of us to have a job. That's why tourism is so important all around Australia.
Are you able to sit at the table of economic developments with your government colleagues and say that, and for them to begin to realise when they talk about retail and sort of industry and so on?
The best thing about the Rudd Labor government is tourism is at the cabinet table. That means when I sit at the cabinet table, I am talking to the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Treasurer, the Finance Minister, the Employment Minister, the Workplace Relations Minister. The key portfolios are there, as is tourism. That means we are at the centre of government. That is very important. It's the first time tourism has been treated seriously at a cabinet level. We have a voice in cabinet from the tourism industry's perspective.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your time this evening. I'm sure a glass of Hunter Valley Shiraz is calling, or maybe a Blue Tongue beer, and I'll just sign off in terms of John Alwyn-Jones reporting for Travel Mole TV from the ATEC Symposium in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia.